Denizens of the night, welcome to another episode of the macabre, the terrifying. Broadcasting live from that little treasure chest at the bottom of your fish tank, I will be your guide through the witching hours. Tonight, we'll hear the strange tale of an extraordinary fish with an extraordinary appetite, and of a jealous big sister who would do just about anything to reclaim the limelight. This story is called Snapper the Fish and was written by Nick Clausen. Ring-a-ling. A bell chimes as Mary opens the door. The smell of sawdust and fur greets her. She turns around and waves. "Come on, Dad!" Dad is busy on his phone. He steps into the store and looks around. "Oh, that's funny. I never noticed a pet shop here." "I can choose whichever one I want, right?" "Sure, sweetie. You just look around. I need to make a quick call to John from work." Mary runs to the section with rodents. They're peering out from behind glass walls. Mice and rats and guinea pigs. They're cute, but they're not what she wants. Mary goes on to the birds. They chirp and whistle. She pauses briefly in front of a yellow canary. It's pretty, but it's not what she wants either. In the back of the store, she finds the fish tanks. There are fishes in all sizes, shapes, and colors, but they're kind of boring. They just go around and around. Mary is disappointed. Why don't they have any exciting pets? Then she notices the door. It's just slightly ajar, and on the other side it's dark, except for a looming glow. Mary looks to the register. The owner is selling cat litter to a lady. Dad is jabbering on his phone. Mary slides through the door. The room smells of coffee. On the table is a fish tank, and that's where the glow is coming from. The light is making strange shadows on the walls. Mary steps closer. The fish tank looks empty. The bottom is covered with black sand, and in the middle is a gray rock with a hole the size of Mary's fist. She puts her nose to the chilly glass and squints her eyes. Is there something in the cave? Suddenly, 2 orange discs appear. A couple of eyes are looking out at her. Mary gasps and pulls away, but then she smiles. "Wow, you're scary. It's you I want." Steps behind her make her turn around. The owner comes into the room. It's an old guy with white hair and wrinkly cheeks. He smiles. "You're not allowed back here, little lady. This is not part of the store." "I want to buy that fish," Mary says and points. The owner shakes his head. "It's not for sale." "Why not?" "Because it's a very special fish." At that moment, Dad comes in. "Here you are. Did you find anything, sweetie?" "Yes, I want that fish." Dad looks at the tank. "What fish? That tank is empty." "No, it lives inside the rock." The owner smiles at Dad. "Like I was just saying, the fish is, unfortunately, not for sale." "Oh, well, you have to find another one, sweetie. There are lots of other pretty fishes." "I don't want any of those. They're boring." Mary crosses her arms. "You heard the man," Dad tries. "This one is not for sale." Mary gets mad. "It's not fair. You promised I could choose whichever one I wanted." She starts to tear up. She's good at crying at will. Dad sighs. "Listen, how much do you want for the fish?" The owner shrugs. "It's not for sale." "Of course it is. How about $1,000? Dad gets out his wallet. It's not about the money, the owner says. It's about the price you pay to own this fish. And what price is that? The old man hesitates. I can't really tell you. Please, let's go back out to the store. We'll forget about the whole... I want this one, Dad! Mary exclaims. Her chin is quivering. 2,000, says Dad. It's the bargain of your life. The old man thinks it over. Then he turns to Mary. His expression has changed. His eyes are strangely empty. You know what? I think you're just the right owner for this fish, young lady. He looks at Dad and lifts a wrinkly finger. Just don't say I didn't warn you. Luckily, the tank isn't that big. Dad and the owner carry it to the car. How much did we agree on? Dad finds the money. Was it 2,000? Keep it, the owner says, and pulls out a bag. Here you go. It's the food for the fish. That should be enough for a week or so. Mary takes the bag. It's cool and heavy and soft. I made it myself, the owner says. It's the only thing it'll eat. When it's gone, you'll have to make some more. The bag has a sour smell. Mary sneers. It's very important that you remember to feed it, the owner continues. He looks demandingly at Mary. The more you give it, the longer before it gets hungry again. Don't worry about overfeeding it. It can eat more than you, me, and your dad put together. Dad closes the trunk. Is there anything else we need? How about a pump? That's not necessary. I thought the water needed to be kept oxidated or whatever. The owner shakes his head. Like I said, it's a very special fish. It only needs its food. Well, thank you. The owner takes a deep breath and looks to the sky. He smiles and mumbles, No, thank you. Mary! Mom is shouting from downstairs. It's the third time I'm calling. Dinner's ready. Mary is sitting at her desk, looking into the water behind the glass. The fish is nowhere to be seen. In fact, it hasn't been out for even a second. It's probably timid. A high-pitched scream sounds from downstairs. It's Lisa. She's only 6 months old. Mary can't stand her smaller sister. All she does is cry, pee, and scream. Mary gets up and goes downstairs. Mom, Dad, and Lisa are sitting at the table. There you are, Mom says. She's feeding Lisa with a spoon. I almost went to look for you. Mary slumps in her seat. Yuck. Shepherd's pie again? Why do we always get potatoes? Because Lisa loves potatoes, Mom says. Here comes the airplane. Mom makes a sound that makes Lisa laugh and open her mouth. Lisa. Always Lisa. Mary takes a spoonful on her plate. She's not even hungry. She looks at Dad. The fish hasn't been out of the cave yet. Dad doesn't reply. He's busy reading something on his laptop while he eats. Dad, are you listening? What's that, sweetie? The fish is still in its cave. Well, I guess it'll come out soon. Lisa spits out a lump of mashed potatoes. Mom is ready with a new load, but the baby flails its fat arms and knocks the spoon out of Mom's hand. It flies across the table and plops down onto Mary's lap. Yuck! She screams and pushes the spoon to the floor. That's so disgusting! Lisa starts wailing. Now look, you scared Lisa, Mom says, and picks up the baby. Why do you always have to scream like that, Mary? Since Lisa came along, it's like Mom only has one child. Like Mary just doesn't matter anymore. Mom only talks to her when she's correcting or scolding her. Please give me the spoon, Mary, Mom says. It's all greasy. Then rinse it off in the kitchen. I don't want to touch it. Mom sighs and looks at Dad. Frank, are you going to say anything? What? Yes, pick up the spoon and give it to your mom, Mary. Mary looks angrily at him. She hates it when he takes Mom's side. Lisa's hissy fit has already blown over. Now she's jabbering and clapping awkwardly with her small, fat hands. Mary sends her an evil stare, tries to scare her with her eyes, tries to make her cry again. But Lisa just smiles stupidly back. Mary bends down, picks up the nasty spoon, and throws it on the table. Then she gets up and marches out of the room. Before Mary goes to bed, she decides to feed the fish. She still hasn't seen it, but maybe it'll come out when she drops food in the water. She unties the bag and opens it. The sour smell becomes worse, to the point that it almost makes Mary nauseous. She holds her breath and sticks 2 fingers into the bag. They touch something moist and soggy. She gathers a small portion and looks at it with disgust. It reminds her of minced meat. Oh, yuck! It stinks. She drops the red and gooey lump into the water. Instantly, there's a loud shush as something bolts through the water. Mary bends down and looks through the glass. The water has been stirred up. The food is gone. Only small pieces are floating around. There's no sight of the fish. Oh, damn it! I missed it! Mary waits a couple of minutes. Tiny bubbles come out from the hole in the stone and float to the surface, but she doesn't get even a glimpse of the fish. Fish? Hello? Mary taps the glass. She just woke up. The 2 orange discs appear in the darkness of the cave. The fish blinks at her. Hey! Mary smiles. Would you like some breakfast? She gets a lump of the disgusting food and lets it fall into the water. This time, she's ready. Her eyes are fixed on the cave. But the fish doesn't come out. The red lump slowly dissolves. The eyes of the fish are staring out at her, like it's waiting. Come on, fish. Come on out here, Mary whispers to it. Let me see you. The door opens behind her. Mary turns around abruptly. Mom is standing in the doorway. Good, you're up. Shush! Mary turns her head. Too late. Most of the food is gone. The water is still moving a bit. Come on! You made me look away, Mom! Mom comes into the room with a puzzled look on her face. What are you doing? I'm feeding the fish, but it only comes out when I'm not looking, and it moves really, really fast. Mom shakes her head. I still don't get why you chose a fish. Why not a cute little hamster or a furry rabbit? Mary glowers at the bubbles coming from the cave. I don't want some stupid pet that everyone else has. Well, get dressed. You're late. Mom goes to the door. I need to change Lisa's diaper, so you have to make your own breakfast. You know where the cornflakes are. Just don't spill the milk. Mary gives up on seeing the fish when she feeds it, because no matter how long she waits, it just stays in its cave until she looks away. She even tried turning off the light in the tank, but not even the darkness can lure the fish out of hiding. The next morning, she throws in the last of the food when she suddenly notices something. A small, clear shell is floating on top of the water. It came from the bag that she just emptied. "What's that?" Mary mumbles and reaches down to catch the thing. She takes a closer look, gasps, and quickly drops the thing back into the water. "Yuck! How nasty!" The thing is a fingernail. She looks at the empty bag. What kind of disgusting stuff has she been feeding the fish? "It's the only thing it'll eat." That's what the pet store owner said. Mary looks at the tank. "You really are a special fish. I think I'll call you Snapper. What do you think of that, Snapper?" The fish just looks at her from its cave. Mary smiles. "I'm glad you like it." She turns away and goes to pack her school bag. Behind her, Snapper immediately shoots through the water and swallows his breakfast in one big bite. "Its name is Snapper," Mary tells Lynn in the schoolyard. "I came up with the name just this morning." "Snapper?" Lynn asks. "That's a weird name." "It's because it always jumps out and snaps its food, like lightning." "Is it a piranha?" "No, but the guy I bought it from said it's very special. Do you want to come home with me and see it after school?" "Sure, if my mom says I can." Lynn gets permission to go home with Mary. They walk home from school and find the house locked. Mom has probably gone shopping. Mary retrieves the key from her bag and lets them in. They go straight up to Mary's room. "That's it, right there," Mary says proudly and points to the fish tank. "Gosh, it's really boring. There aren't even any plants or anything." "It's not the tank I want to show you. It's Snapper." "I see, but where is it?" "It's hiding in the cave in the stone." Lynn steps closer. "Is it always hiding?" "Oh, no. It's probably just shy because you're here." Lynn darts her a skeptical look. "Fish can't tell things like that." They just look into the water for a moment. "Can't you lure it out somehow?" Lynn suggests. "Maybe with a little bit of food?" "I already told you. It eats so fast that you won't see it happen. And besides, it got the last of its food this morning." All of a sudden, the water starts stirring. "Hey, don't push the table." "I didn't touch it," Lynn says. "Then why is the water moving?" "How should I know?" The water is still shaking, as though someone were kicking the tank. "Weird," Mary mumbles. She puts her hand on the glass, but quickly removes it again. "What happened?" Lynn asks. "It's hot. Try to feel it." "No, I don't want to." Mary is getting more and more confused. She has no idea what's going on. "Look, it's steaming," Lynn exclaims. "Oh no! What if the fish can't tolerate water that hot? It'll die!" Lynn holds her hand on top of the tank to feel the steam from the water. At that same moment, a voice calls from downstairs. "Mary?" Both girls turn their heads. Instantly, there's a whizzing noise as Snapper shoots through the water. Mary hears a loud smack of strong jaws snapping shut. She turns just in time to see Lynn pulling her hand away with a shriek. Something that looks like a thick snake disappears down into the water with a splash. Then Lynn starts screaming. "It bit me! It bit me!" "Mary!" Mom calls again and comes running up the stairs. Mary is dumbfounded. Lynn is crying. Blood starts dripping from her finger. There's water all over the floor, and some of it has drenched Lynn's clothes. Mom bursts into the room. "What's happening?" "The fish bit me," Lynn cries, and shows the bloody finger. "Come, let me see." There, honey. It's only a small cut." Lynn sniffles. "It really hurts." Mom looks from the tank to the girls. The water is calm now. "Did you say the fish bit you?" "Yes. It came all the way out of the water. It was enormous, like a snake, and its mouth was full of teeth. It wanted to eat my whole hand." Lynn sobs. "Calm down," Mom says and hugs her. "The fish just looked a lot bigger because you got so surprised." "No, it was huge. It's way too big to be in that small cave." "All right, then. We better find you a Band-Aid for your finger. Come on now. Mary, get this water cleaned up, and stay away from the fish tank from now on." Mom takes Lynn downstairs. Mary is left alone with her pounding heart. The orange eyes of the fish are glistening in the darkness of the cave. Lynn wants to go home, so Mom calls her parents, and she's picked up a couple of minutes later. "What happened up there?" Mom demands, with her arms crossed. "I didn't see it," Mary lies. "My back was turned. All of a sudden, she just started screaming." "I guess she must have cut her finger on something," Mom mumbles. "Well, Grandma and Grandpa are coming to dinner tonight. Go clean up your room." Mary shuffles upstairs again and starts tidying up her things. After a short while, she becomes aware of a strange noise. It's like a deep rumbling, and it comes from the tank. She turns around and sees the bubbles coming from the cave in the stone. They're a lot bigger this time. She steps closer. "What's wrong, Snapper?" The noise increases. It sounds almost threatening. Mary is scared now. She backs away. "I think we'd better get you some food, Snapper, so you can be happy again." Then, out of nowhere, she has an idea. Mom has started making dinner. Mary sneaks down the stairs and past the kitchen without being noticed. She goes down to the basement, turns on the light, and tiptoes across the cold concrete floor to the fridge. The pale glow illuminates her face as she opens the lid. She pulls out a frozen bag of minced meat and shuts the lid again. She sneaks back upstairs, bringing the meat to the bathroom, where she runs hot water over the bag until it starts turning soft. She opens it and brings it back to her room. "Well, Snapper, just look at this now. I got something for you." The sound from the tank has ceased. Mary breaks off a lump of the meat and drops it in the water. She steps back and turns around. "All right, have at it." She waits anxiously. No sounds from the tank. When a minute has gone by, she can't take the excitement any longer, so she turns around to look. The meat is still floating around on the surface, untouched. It has started dissolving. Mary catches the orange irises of Snapper. They're staring out right at her, and they seem angry. Once again, she recalls the old man's voice. "It's the only thing it'll eat." Mary goes to flush the rest of the raw meat down the toilet. That evening, they're sitting around the dinner table in the living room. Grandma and Grandpa are here. "Oh, how she's grown!" Grandma chuckles and tickles Lisa's chin. The baby drools with delight. "What an absolute darling! Did you weigh her recently? Yes, we did so yesterday, Mom says. 15 pounds, 9 ounces. My goodness, what a fitting weight for such a wonderful little lady. The conversation goes on like that. Mary tries not to listen. How is the new stroller? How does she sleep at night? Oh, she's so cute. She's so lovely. Lisa, Lisa, Lisa. How about you, Mary? Grandpa suddenly asks. Aren't you happy about your new little sister? No, Mary says. In fact, I hate her. Don't you start, Mom warns her. Grandma laughs. Of course you don't hate your sister, Mary. Yes, I do. I wish she'd never been born. That's the last warning, young lady, Mom says. Next thing out of your mouth, and you can finish your dinner up in your room. I don't like it anyway, Mary says, pushing the plate away. She remembers that she's out of food for the fish. Dad, I need more food for Snapper. Well, then we'll have to buy something tomorrow. But don't you remember? The man said the fish would only eat that special stuff he gave me. Oh, well, was there a name on the bag? No, because it was something he made himself. Oh, did you get a fish? Grandpa asks. Mary lights up. Yes, its name is Snapper. Do you want to see it, Grandpa? Grandpa is about to answer when Lisa lets out a loud burp and starts laughing. Oh, baby doll, Grandma laughs. Oh, you're such a good girl. Mom and Dad smile. Grandpa waves at the baby. Lisa chuckles and hits the table with both hands. She's happy. She's once again the center of attention. Mary has yet again been forgotten. Oh, what an appetite! Oh, she is such a sweetheart. Mary can't take it anymore. She feels a lump in her throat. She pushes out the chair and gets up. I'm going to my room. No one answers because no one notices her leaving the table. A noise wakes her up. She sits up in bed and rubs her eyes. It's dark in the room, except for the fish tank, which is trembling slightly on the table. The water is sizzling and giving off steam. The fish is making its angry growl. You really are hungry, aren't you? Mary whispers. Snapper keeps on roaring. The light is on in the tank because Mary is too scared to go close enough to shut it off. Tiny shreds of minced meat are still floating around the surface. The eyes of the fish are glaring out from the cave, giving off their orange glow, shining with hunger. Mary shudders. She pulls a little closer to the wall. It's not my fault, Snapper. We'll get some more food from the weird old man tomorrow. The tank seems to settle a bit. You'll get as much as you can eat, Mary promises. I swear. As if Snapper understands her, the water stops boiling. The eyes disappear, and the room becomes silent. Dad picks up Mary from school, and they drive by the pet shop, as they did last week. Mary is looking out the window while rubbing her earring. She could only find one of them this morning. She hopes the other one isn't lost. They were a birthday present from Dad, and she really likes them. You got it, John. Dad is jabbering on his phone. Uh-huh. My words exactly. Oh, we can't just sit with our hands in our laps waiting for them to come to the table. There's so many other buyers in Europe, and we... John, I'm sorry, I have to call you back. Dad slows down the car and brings it to a halt. Oh, what the heck? What's wrong, Dad? Mary realizes they're right next to the pet shop. She recognizes the building. But the nice sign with toucans, cats, and turtles is gone. Instead, there's a note in the window. For sale, it says. Wait here, sweetie. Dad gets out and runs to the shoe shop across the street. A minute later, he comes back out, gets into the car, and mumbles, The pet shop closed down the day after we were here. As soon as Mary gets off her shoes, she realizes that something has been gnawing at her foot all day. She shakes the shoe, and out falls a tiny rock. She is sore from where the stone has been rubbing her sole. Up in her room, she finds the fish tank calm. Mary sits down on the bed and pulls her sock off. A small blister has formed on the skin. She rubs it gently with a finger, and a small piece of skin comes off. Mary gets up to go to the bathroom to throw the piece of skin into the toilet, but she stops in the doorway and hesitates. Instead, she goes to the tank and drops the piece of skin into the water. Mary isn't really expecting anything to happen, but Snapper instantly leaps out like a torpedo and is gone again just as fast. The water sloshes around and only slowly settles down. Mary's heart is pounding. She sits down on the bed. It was lightning fast, but this time she actually got a glimpse of the fish. It looked like an eel, black and gray and shiny, with gills on the side and sharp fins down its back, and a huge mouth. Mary shivers. A short series of bubbles leaves the cave. Mary, could you come down here? Mary goes downstairs. Mom is breastfeeding the baby, and she looks angry. Guess what I found in Lisa's bed? How should I know? Mom holds up a tiny golden thing between her fingers. My earring! Mary exclaims, reaching out to take it. But Mom puts it in her pocket. Oh no, you're not getting it back. First of all, you promised to look out for your jewelry. They cost a fortune. And secondly, what were you thinking, leaving a small thing like that just lying around? What would you have done if Lisa had swallowed it? She could have choked on it. It wasn't my fault, Mary argues. I didn't leave it anywhere. I looked out for it. Then how did it end up in Lisa's bed? I don't know. Mary is close to tears, and it's not fake tears. She probably stole it. That's just nonsense. Lisa lets go of the breast and sends Mary a wide, milky smile. Stop looking at me, Mary shouts. It's all your fault, stupid brat. The baby blinks with surprise. You don't yell at her like that, Mom hisses. Go to your room. Give me my earring. You'll get it back once you apologize to your sister for shouting in her face. Never! I'll never apologize! I hate her! I wish she was dead! Mary runs out of the living room and up the stairs as the tears start flowing. She slams the door and throws herself on the bed. She sobs on the pillow for a while. Then she lifts her head and sniffles, looking at the fish tank. She suddenly gets an idea. Don't you worry, Snapper, she whispers and wipes her nose. Her face is expressionless. Now I know how we'll get you something to eat. After dinner, Mary is sitting on her bed playing her Xbox. It's dark outside. The fish tank has been calm since she gave Snapper the small piece of skin, but Mary knows that the fish is still hungry. There's a knocking at the door. Mom comes in. Hi, Mary. Aunt Tina just called. She locked herself out of the apartment again, so I have to go over there with a spare key. Sure, Mom. Could you look after Lisa while I'm gone? I already put her to bed. She's sleeping in her room, so you just need to listen. And if she wakes up, you just talk to her until I come back. Sure, Mom. I'll bring my cell. If anything happens, just call me. Sure, Mom. Mom looks puzzled for a moment. Then she smiles. Thank you, Mary. That's a good girl. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Mom goes downstairs. Mary listens. She hears the rattling of keys, then the slam of the front door, and finally the car starting up. Mary sneaks into Lisa's room. The baby is sleeping in the crib with her pacifier between her lips. Next to the crib is the carry cot. Gently, Mary picks up her little sister. Lisa grunts in her sleep. As carefully as possible, Mary puts her into the cot. She manages to do it without Lisa waking up. Mary carries the cot into her own room. It's heavy, so she needs to take a couple of breaks. Finally, she's standing in front of the fish tank. The glass is vibrating. The water is boiling. Snapper is excited. All right, take it easy, Mary whispers, and moves the chair next to the tank. By now, the tank is shaking so violently, Mary is afraid it might tumble to the floor. The fish is growling from inside the cave, and the water is spilling out the sides. Now comes the hard part. Mary steps onto the chair, bends down, and picks up the cot. With a lot of effort, Mary gets it up on top of the tank. The shaking stops immediately. The water sloshes and bubbles for a moment, then becomes completely calm. Mary is about to step down when the baby wakes up. She looks sleepily up at Mary, and for just a moment, Mary feels a pinch of doubt. Can she really go through with this? Mom and Dad will probably be heartbroken, but that will pass. Soon, they will have forgotten about Lisa, and then they will only have Mary again. Things will go back to how they were, back when Mom and Dad still loved her. The thought makes Mary smile. She yanks the blanket off the baby. Lisa is wearing her yellow pajamas. Mary grabs the soft legs and pulls them out over the edge of the cot so they dangle just above the water. Lisa spits out her pacifier and starts to whimper, almost as if she knows what is about to happen. Mary leaves the room and shuts the door. She stays on the other side of the door, listening to the baby crying. Snapper will strike any moment now and stop the noise forever. All of a sudden, she hears a car outside the house. Mary's heart jumps. Mom is back already. If she comes in and finds the baby before Snapper eats it, everything will be ruined. Mary must buy some time. She must make sure Mom doesn't come inside the house yet. She runs down the stairs and opens the front door. Mom's car is not in the driveway. Mary gives off a sigh of relief. It was just the neighbor coming home. Mary shuts the door and hurries upstairs again. She stops in front of the door and holds her breath as she listens. Complete silence from the room. Slowly, she opens the door. The carry cot is still standing on top of the tank, but the baby's legs are gone. A tickling sensation in Mary's stomach. It worked, she whispers. She goes to the tank. She isn't scared of Snapper anymore. Now the fish must finally be full, and satisfied. She gets up on the chair and looks down into the water. Well, how was the meal? Did you... Bleh. The sound comes from the cot. Mary's eyes grow big. Lisa is still in the crib. She just tucked her legs in. Mary doesn't get it. Why didn't Snapper eat her? The fish must be starving. Perhaps it's so starving that Lisa isn't big enough? Perhaps... Mary gasps. Perhaps Snapper is out for bigger prey? She hears the familiar shush as the fish comes shooting up through the water with its mouth wide open. 15 minutes later, the front door opens. Mom takes off her shoes and goes up the stairs. She goes to check on Lisa, but finds the crib empty. That's weird, she mumbles. Perhaps Lisa woke up, so Mary took her out to play with her. She goes to Mary's room. Mary? No answer. Mom is just about to close the door again when she notices the carry cot. It's standing on top of the fish tank. She goes over and finds the baby smiling up at her. Oh, sweetheart. What did you do, Mary? Why on earth is Lisa sitting on top of your fish tank? She lifts the cot down. Mary? Mary? Still no answer. There's water all over the floor again, Mom mumbles. She should never have gotten that stupid tank when she obviously isn't big enough to... Wait, what's that? Mom sees something glimmering at the bottom of the tank. Oh, that does it. She threw her earring into the water. Mary, you come here right now and explain yourself, young lady. Did that story end like you thought it would? Did it end like you hoped it would? Who among us hasn't cast a jealous eye at a favored sibling? Just be careful that whatever solution you choose, it doesn't come back to bite you in the end. If you enjoyed this story, please check out the author's other work in the links below. Also, if you enjoyed my telling of it, you can find links to some audiobooks from Nick, narrated by none other than yours truly. Who knows? I might even have a free review code to give out to some lucky denizen brave enough to send an email. Please also leave a like on this video and subscribe for more stories like this one. And remember, don't fall asleep.